In my opinion, the goal of a power system is to bring superpowers into the real world. Superpowers obviously don't exist in the real world, we all know that, except for in your dreams. In your dreams you can fly, teleport, and even die. That's the basis for my story, Hypnagogia, a world where superpowers begin to show up in humans, animals, plants, and materials. Today, I'm going to cover the whole system, my hero, villain, and what makes it unique. If you guys want to stay updated with my comic or you guys want help making your own, make sure to subscribe and join my Discord. I'll be doing my best to respond to everybody, but with that being said, let me get started. Everything in my world started with my villain, Joseph Capone. He became the first power user at 28 years old in 2020. After getting tired of his life, he started to unlock the secrets of lucid dreaming, and through a routine in the real world, he was able to enter the same lucid dream every night. This allowed him to create his own reality. It was cool for a while, but people were the same, they would just repeat the same phrases, so he experimented more and more. After a while, he was able to build up enough dream energy to punch a portal into the real world and change dreams forever. In his dream, he was basically a god, and he tried to carry over that power. But in one night, everything changed. Instead of just coming through, he woke up back in his bed, only with a superpower called a hyletic. Hyletics are powers based on random aspects of the world, like usual tropes. Water, electricity, dirt, iron, phosphorus, whatever you can think of. Every element, compound, and concept exists somewhere or sometime as a power. What makes my villain different is that since he's the origin of this power, his hyletic allows him to manipulate the existing world. This sounds kind of OP, but he has to grow his ability like everybody else. So at first, it's like telekinesis and he can only change things around, but after he can make them grow or change their properties, and eventually they'll just like match his reality. This aligns with his original dream of getting power in the real world, except for the fact that everybody else also gains powers. People, animals, plants, and materials also gain abilities based on his original powers in his dream. Every body or thing that has one of these powers manifests it as a form of like a liquid portal called somnolent. Somnolent is basically like the manifestation of dream energy, and it exists in every user's spinal fluid around their brain. Somnolent has two unique properties and two major drawbacks that are basically like the core mechanics of my power system. So every somnolent is tied to a major ability like fire, water, electricity, whatever you can think of. Every ability has to be brought into the world and is essentially wasted until you can retrieve it in your sleep. So no abilities are like used, they're just put out into the world, and then when you sleep, you retrieve them. As you grow, your ability gets stronger and you get more of the somnolent to use. These abilities don't harm the user because of the next effect. Enhancements. Enhancements are natural upgrades that come from the dream energy being around the body, and it helps any users not get damaged from their own ability. So a fire user has to split some of their energy into these enhancements to make sure that they don't burn themselves. The more somnolent you use, the more you can raise your strength, speed, durability, and regeneration. This stops characters in my world from being killed by a random guy with a gun, but also leads to the drawbacks I was talking about. Hyletic users in my world need to make sure that they don't run out of somnolent, because then they'll face drawbacks. They'll hurt themselves with their own ability, they'll hurt other people, or they get weird side effects like only being able to use their power during certain times. Besides that, like sickness when they run out, if they have too much power, it's fine when they're alive. If they die with all that power, it gets released onto the world as a hazard. Hazards are basically raw manifestations of an ability that continues to live on after the original user. It uses the dream energy that was left over to continue its lifespan, and depending on how the original user died, it might stay strong and linger around for a little bit and die out, or be weak and stay around for a long time. People with weaker or less developed abilities don't really turn into these hazards. If they do, then it might be like a weak version that just stays around for a little bit and then dies out. Animals also have some of these abilities. Most of them are fine and just walk around the world, but some of them are violent and try to fight back, leading to people having to deal with them or them turning into hazards as well. So I've explained my villain and most of my power system, but there are still two unanswered questions. What is my main character's power, and what makes my system different? Well, in my story, my main character has a hyletic that allows him to learn and use the abilities of other people. similar to Kirby, Crollo, and all my favorite characters, with some big changes. It's called Resonance and allows him to split a portion of his energy into another type, with the drawback of having to learn. To copy another ability, he has to first touch the person with the power for a few seconds to find its frequency and remember it. Once he remembers a frequency, he can trade some of his original power for the copied power, and his strength gets divided between the two. At first, it's pretty weak, but as he's able to understand the system, he grows with the ability and chooses which one to use for each situation. In my story, he's not the only one who can use other people's abilities though. Somnolent isn't locked to a person, so having the liquid in your brain is only half of the problem. Everybody with Somnolent can have it stolen, extracted, or given to somebody else. This is a crucial discovery in my world and first occurred when a Hylitic user had a child. Since this power is new to my world, the user couldn't control himself and gave his kid part of his Somnolent. This gave his kid a percentage of his max potential, so he could only be 30% as powerful as before, but his kid could grow up to equal that. When someone gets their power stolen in my world, it's kind of like the same thing. Whatever percent of their power gets stolen is what percentage is given to the next person as an ability. If 50% of their power gets stolen, like 50% of the liquid, then the new person can only get 50% of their max potential. This is one of the main conflicts in my story and gives a unique twist because 5 people could have the same power, but in a weaker form. I'll get into how Somnolent is stolen in another video, but for now, that's going to wrap up this one. Hope you guys liked it. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. And remember, don't overthink it, just Josh it.